Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
The Oxford TCC is an official language certificate based on the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages that assesses the 5 main English language skills: use of English, reading, listening, writing, and speaking. Its final objective is to certify candidates in these skills at any level from A1 to C2. In addition to being an official certificate, the Oxford TCC helps candidates identify their areas of improvement through its 3-step process. Diagnostic. Its main objective is to detect the candidate's initial English level within the CEFR. Mock verifies the candidate's English level obtained in the diagnostic and also provides practice before the final exam. Certification. It certifies the candidate's English skills in the level obtained. It includes a speaking examination which is carried out by native English speakers. What are the benefits of having the Oxford TCC in your school? The price is accessible. The cost is the same for all levels. Examination dates are available all year round. The school decides when to apply the exams. The digital results are sent 5 days after taking the exam, and candidates will receive the exact percentage obtained in each of the skills tested. The physical copy of the certificate is delivered 3 weeks after finalizing the process, including the speaking assessment. The whole process takes place within the school facilities. The Oxford TCC is the best option for certifying the English level of students and teachers alike.
Okay, second video, and we are almost ready. Okay, let's start. So hello everyone, welcome to the BEO International Summit 2020. Oh my God, we got lots of people from many countries around the world. This is really exciting. My name is Carolina Herrera, BEO Work Coordinator for Central America and the Caribbean. I'm really honored to be of your host for this special online event, created with lots of love and care by our BEO team. So even in these difficult times, we want to help teachers get together and share their love for the professions and give you all the new ideas and extra motivation for when you return to the classroom. I know it's a difficult time right now to be a teacher, as you already know, right? So you deserve this chance to focus on yourself, and your personal and professional growth. So yeah, you have a learner, okay? Thank you for being here, and let me introduce our special guest talk. Hello, Mexico. Hello, Morocco. Alejandra López has a master's education with a major in metacognition and also earned a diploma in innovation in education with a major in the use of technology. COVID-19 is giving us the opportunity to grow and improve with a new knowledge to confront the future, because normal life is not happening anymore, and we know that. Education is key. We all have a huge responsibility to guide the next generations of world leaders. Therefore, we educators and education companies must be ready for the future after crisis. So what comes next? Thank you so much, everyone. Welcome. Questions and answers at the end of the presentation. Welcome to the BEO International Summit 2020. And thank you, Alejandra. The stage is all yours. Hello.
Thank you, Caro.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Let me start by sharing my screen with you. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Very good. I think that's, can everybody see my presentation?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, yes. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much, Caro, for your presentation, and thanks everyone for being here today. I truly appreciate, and I hope this can talk in this minutes can be of some value to you. Well, let's begin. Future after the crisis. What's next? What comes next for all of us? Well, just a little bit of a background. When I started teaching, I'm not teaching anymore. I'm a coordinator and curriculum coordinator. But when I was teaching, I used to tell my students that before they started to face a problem, either it was physics, mathematics, chemistry, they always need, or history, of course in history, they always need to know their context. What is it that they were talking about? How were things back then, in order to know what the givens are and what is expected from all of us. So in the same dynamic, I would like to start this talk. Where were we? Where are we right now? What's happening to all of us? And I would like to express my opinion about it. I think before COVID, education was already in a crisis, a different one, but it was in a crisis. And why would I say that? We were in a crisis because the current education models that exist out there were not meeting the demands to create talent. Educators, us, me included, are not teaching the abilities or the skills that are needed for the near future. So that, to me, it's a crisis right there. But let's see, let's think, meditate, and reflect about how are we doing things, or how were we doing things? First of all, as far as innovation and technology goes, we need to ask ourselves, were we innovating? Were we using technology? Do we know what innovation is? Probably, because the word sounds fancy, and maybe it's cliche, but everybody uses it all the time. Maybe we know that, or we're asking the students to bring an electronic device to school, and yes, we're using technology. Or maybe we're using some online tools that exist on the market right there, and boom, we're also using technology. Or maybe we're asking the students to research, or a verb that is now accepted, to Google a topic and to bring it to school the next day, and we're using technology. Now, the thing is that we need to question if that is innovation, and that is that we're using technology in the right way. Let's say that it is. Let's say that maybe it's not what it is. that the answer, we need to investigate it a little bit more. Also, that we have an innovation goal, that we know where we were going, that we have an ending point, not just going through, not just blending in whatever came into my I don't know, my time, and I found this and let me put it into work in my classroom or with my students, that we know where we're going, or we just, you know, just see what happens along the way. Another thing that we need to stop and think is, how do we feel about change? Obviously, change causes fear, uncertainty. Maybe it's just, I don't know, resistance. We don't have to learn new things. We don't want to learn new things. We don't have time to learn new things. Why learn new things if what I'm doing right now, it's working? Well, it's working for whom? Who's saying that it's working? So change, it always, you know, causes a little bit of a fear in all of us. Maybe there were symptoms out there that we didn't notice that we needed a change. Or maybe we did notice the symptoms, but we didn't want to pay attention to them, or we didn't know what to do with them. For example, and all this that I'm sharing with you are things that have happened to me or to us in the school. For example, kids are not that much interested in education anymore. They want to become influencers and YouTubers, and that's the way that they're going to become rich. So why study? Why do I need to get a degree if that's not going to ensure my success? Or they spending too much time on the use of social media. Or for example, I have many students that like to play video games, and they spend lots and lots of time on online video games with kids all over the world, and they playing against each other, and they don't spend the time doing school activities or extracurricular activities because they're playing an online. Or for example, or just simply, they, like I said before, they don't want to get a degree. They don't think that becoming a doctor, becoming an engineer is going to get them where they want to be. They're not going to make them successful. So with all this in mind, what was the prognosis of the future? Who knows? If by now we haven't understand that future, it's extremely uncertain, then we haven't learned anything. If somebody would have said to us 6 months ago, you know what? In 6 months from now, the whole world is going to be in quarantine. People are going to be doing home officing, and kids are going to be learning from home as well. Everybody's teachers are going to be with remote teaching. Factories are going to close. The only things that are going to be open are the basic stores or banks or hospitals. We would have said, of course not. That's not going to happen. The whole world, maybe a city, but not the whole world. That's impossible. And here we are at different times within a month or two, but that's happening in the whole world. And that is pretty amazing. Difficult to believe that such a tiny organism, you know, came to turn our world upside down. And of course, just like in any crisis, we were not ready, because if we would have been ready, this wouldn't be called a crisis. Maybe some of us, we knew how to use technology. Like I said, maybe we did have some use of technology in the classrooms, but not to the level or to the point in which everything was going to be delivered online. It definitely took us by surprise. It took all of us out of our comfort zone, and you know, and we have to transform our institutions from one day to the next. And think about all the time that we tried to do so, you know, with knowledge, with planning, and it didn't happen, because back then we saw too many difficulties that got in the way. For example, I don't know, let's say economic issues, let's say inertia that we have, let's say lack of personnel or lack of knowledge of how to do things. But nevertheless, we managed to pull it through. We did it, and we did it very well. Some schools with less resources than other ones, but we did it in any possible way that we could. And once again, this came to reveal our true vocation as teachers, caring for students, worrying about them. How are they doing? Are they learning? Is it enough what I'm doing? So it's not only people delivering knowledge, or teachers caring for students. And most likely, we feel like we're in a crisis because we're still concerned about the curriculum. Because maybe when they gave us the news that we were going to go to remote teaching, we thought that it was going to be only for a few weeks. So we said, we need to complete the curriculum. We need to continue with evaluations. And that's what we were worried about. So what we did and what we're doing maybe is based on that, and that on that thought that we were going to go back in a few weeks. But guess what? It's been 7 weeks now for us in Mexico. I don't know how you guys doing in some other parts of the world, but in Mexico, we're being in quarantine for 7 weeks. This is the 8th week. We're starting the 8th week for the most part of Mexico. So what are we going to do? How are we going to finish the world? Or maybe we're stressed because parents, they're gonna think that us teachers that we're not at a school, we're scratching our bellies at home, and that we're not doing enough, and that we're not delivering enough information to the students so they can keep learning, and they're worried that the kids are going to get behind on their knowledge. So, for example, the ones that are graduating, seniors, do they have the knowledge that is required to go to the next level, to go to high school, to go to college? Maybe that's keeping us from doing the right thing because we're too stressed. Or maybe some of us, we feel stress from our own directors or principals at school, that obviously they're worried that we're doing enough for the students, so parents do not get upset. So there are, like I say, there's so many things that get involved in this crisis. And we might not be doing the right thing. So we need to go back to the basics. We need to take control of what we know how to do. We're teachers, we care. We just need to make few changes now, because the world requires from us to make some changes. And then something that is true, whether we like it or not, we're making history. Let me take this away. I'm sorry. We're making history. This is going to be written on books, or, well, who knows, maybe in books now, because we're not going to have books anymore in the future. We might not. But definitely, we're making history. We're in a new era. Something known as coronavirus is making us change, and it's causing such a disruptive change that we cannot ever think that we're going to go back to what it was before. What we knew as normal no longer exists. We're going to have a new normal. And in that new normal, we're going to be different people. Therefore, we're going to be different teachers, and we're going to have different students, because there's going to be a different society. So we need to get ready for that new normal. But not everything is bad news. There are also good news. What benefits has this pandemic brought? Well, some of us are getting to adapt to the use of technology, and we didn't know that we could. So we had to do it from one day to the next. Many of the teachers are millennials, so it was easy for them. But for some other ones, it was not as easy. So they're asking their kids how to do it. And that's awesome, because we're interacting with our kids. Now, not only parents are teaching our children, now children are teaching their parents how to get used to this new way of teaching or doing things or learning. Another thing is that now we have the ability to get to know and get involved in social media. You know, for some of us, it says now being on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You know, some of them are good for adults or for teachers, and some of them are, you know, I'm not sure if I should be on TikTok. But in order to develop creativity, we have to design different classes. And in order to design different classes, we have to do or use different things and things that are attractive to them. So I have teachers doing TikTok videos, songs, and uploaded them to the social media and sharing with the students so they get interested. So they say, wow, you know, it's okay, it's good. So we do not always use it for nonsense things, but we can use it also for good things. Some of the things that another benefit is that we're sharing good practices. Now more than ever, I see teachers from different schools, from different countries, sharing good practices, sharing knowledge with one another, asking themselves. We're not afraid to ask, because before it says, what if I, just like the students in class, what if I ask them? I mean, he's gonna say that I'm not good enough as a teacher, and no, not anymore. It's your knowledge in your subject has nothing to do with your skills or abilities in the new digital era. So we're now asking among each other, can you help me with this? How to make a video, how to edit a video, how to upload this to these platforms. So we're working as a team. Also, we're personalizing evaluations. Why? Because we have found ourselves with so many difficulties. For example, some of the kids are not able to use internet in the time that we were planning to have the evaluation with the rest of with the kids. So I have to make a new evaluation for that student because he or she didn't have access to internet, or I don't know, it needed more time, or it was sick for a week and was not able to attend to the class, so it got behind. So I need to now do a special evaluation for that person. And before, it was a one-size-fits-all evaluation. It's one evaluation for everyone. Now we're learning how to personalize evaluation, which is really good, because that is one of the things that we need to do from now on. And of course, the most important thing is remote teaching. Some of us, we didn't like to be in front of a camera, and look at us now. Some of us, we didn't even like pictures, and now we have to be in front of the camera. And many of us were concerned that we were going to be exposed to the teachers, to other teachers' critics, or to the students, or to the parents. But here we are. We had to go over the fear and just do it. So I think that is a benefit. But see, it is important to be aware of the present, and that is our present. But it's most important to know where we're going. What is the end of the road? Which path am I going to take to get there? Because if I get lost, you know, in the woods, in the sidewalk, it's going to take us a long time. And we might not get there. We might get lost, and we might not get to the final point. So we know where we are, we know where we're coming from, and we need to know which one is the final destination. And this is, for example, and this is something that it's very common for most of us. It doesn't matter what part of the world you're in. But this is how the classroom looked like 3 months ago. You know, kids, chairs, comfortable chairs, maybe an interactive board. Obviously, a millennial teacher, you know, that knows how to interact with gamification, which is really good because it caught the students' attention, and they like it, they enjoy it, they learn. That's how classrooms look like. But in a blink of an eye, we went from this to this. This is our classroom right now. And what's happening here? Yes, some of them are connected, some of them are not. Some of them might have their cameras off, some of them might not be listening Some of them, they turned the camera off and they went and grabbed a snack, or even worse, they maybe went and grabbed breakfast because they were hungry and they left the teacher, you know, just out there talking. Some of them are not connected because, like I said, I didn't feel like, you know, the bed is right next door or right, you know, on the side, so I fall asleep, or I don't know, I'm sick, I'm not feeling like it. Parents do not know what's happening, so they don't have a way to control if the kids need to be connected or not. Unless we send them a message, unless we send them an email and say your child has not been online for the last 2 days, they won't know, because maybe the kids are in front of a computer, but that doesn't mean they're in your class or they're doing what you're asking them to do. So, like I said, we went from face-to-face teaching to remote teaching. And do please notice that I said remote teaching, because in my opinion, that's what most of us are doing. We're doing a great, great effort to continue teaching, but we're not completely sure that it's learning out there, that the kids are learning. In order to say that we went from face-to-face classes to online learning, we should have had plenty of time to plan, to prove that it was working, you know, trial and error situations, to redesign our classes, to get trained in different methodologies, to take courses on evaluation, because that's extremely important, how to evaluate that our kids are learning. But we didn't. From one day to the next, we had to change the scenario. We had to change the interactive board for maybe a whiteboard that I went and bought to an office store so I could explain some problems. And that's about it. But we're not completely sure that learning is happening. I'm completely sure that we're teaching. And yes, most of us are working double of the time that we were working before. But we need to make sure that learning is happening. But given the circumstances, we did it, and we're doing it very well. Although this is not the end of a road, what we're doing right now is not our final destination. So once we know the difference between remote teaching and online learning, we need to understand a little bit about this path: traditional classroom to remote teaching to online learning. So I think for most of us, we're stuck in remote teaching. Now, in a pretty short period of time, we need to move from remote teaching to online learning, because if that doesn't happen, education level out there, it's going to be worse than it was before. Not for everyone, but for many of the countries in which we were in the lowest levels of for example, the PISA surveys, it's going to be even worse. We're going to be way, way behind. So we need to move fast from remote teaching to online learning. And how to do it? I would like to share with you 5 basic steps to move from digital to a digital era. For example, the first one, we must have digital planning learning. We cannot use the same planning that we have. Teachers, the planning, the lesson plan, it's a key thing for all teachers. You cannot even use the same planning from one classroom to the next, because you have to plan for a specific kids, for a specific times, for a specific year. So if that happens throughout your teaching career, imagine now you cannot use the same planning that you had when you were in the classroom. You have to plan for digital learning, how to do it on a digital way. So spending time on lessons plan is a key. Also, synchronous sessions time. It is said, and many people have said it now, that we need to reduce the time that we're in front of the screen. Parents are concerned that their kids are spending way too much time in front of the screen. So our classes have to be designed to be shorter. And we need to be there, and we need to be connected, and we need to be online for them to tell them, I'm here if you need something. But our classes, our planning, our lessons have to be for a short period of time. Yes, it has to be synchronous once in a while, but not all the time. And of course, asynchronous students interaction. Outside the class time, we need to be available for students, and there are platforms in which we can use asynchronous time. For example, I don't know, we can use Hangouts or like I said, the social media. We can use that to be in contact with the students. And especially digital stimulation is not everything. We also need to plan activities in which they're not in front of the screen all the time. We need to develop the parts of the brain that we know that exist. So kids need to learn to read, to write, to do motor, to practice their motor skills. So this is not everything done through computer online. Not because we're teaching online or remote teaching, that means that the kids are going to do everything in front of the computer. Please do design classes or activities that require the students to interact with their hands and to get involved with things around home. For example, if you can do a lab activity that it's simple, just, I don't know, bring a cup of flour and a little bit of oil, or, you know, and see the mixtures, and is it homogeneous, is it not homogeneous, I don't know, just basic things in which they do not have to be in front of the screen the whole time. And also, last but not least, evaluations do not necessarily have to be online. We have to redesign our activities, our classes, our evaluations, to know that learning is happening and that not necessarily through an exam. Because yes, we can do exams online, on Blackboard, on Classroom. We can have them on screen and tell them you have to have your camera on and your microphone on, so I know that you're not copying. But we need to design an evaluation that maybe we can tell the students, this is what you need to do. If you want to Google some information, go ahead. You know, feel free. But we need to design that one activity that it doesn't matter how much time they spend on Google. The answer, they're not going to get it from Google. It has to come from their critical thinking activity. So we do need to spend some time on redesigning our evaluations. That's key. So what will the future be like? I don't know. You don't have the answer. I don't have the answer, that's for sure. But we need to get ready, and we need to start working on things that are going to be changing all the time, a lot more frequently in the education field than it has up until now. And based on the role that you have in school, you need to design what the future will be like. Because it's not the same thing to be a director of the school and think about the future than being a teacher and think about the future. Because for us teachers, our future is the end of the school year. What's going to happen at the end of the school year? What's going to happen at the beginning of the school year? But maybe for the principal of the school, it's going to say, you know, what's going to happen in 3 or 4 years from now? I don't know if all the students that I had, all the kids that I had enrolled in my institution are going to be here. You know, the crisis, the economic crisis is also a situation. So I might lose some students because they don't have enough money to pay tuition. So again, depending on the role that you have on school is what you should be worrying about. As a coordinator, you should be thinking about how the teachers that I'm going to hire from you know, for next school years, what skills that they need to have based on the things that we're going through. What are the characteristics that I need as a teacher in order for them to work here with me, with my team? So again, depending on the role that you have in school, is that future that you need to think of. How is it going to be like, and get ready for it, but not in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or in a month when we go back to school. No, we have to do it right now. It has to be done right now. And this is something that I found on, I follow Sir Ken Robinson, and that I really like what he says and what he shares. And I took one of his phrases. We need to think different about ourselves. Human resources are like the Earth's natural resources. They're highly diverse and often buried deep beneath the surface. They need to be discovered, refined, and applied. Again, some of us, we didn't know what we're capable of doing until we had to do it. And I agree. I think that's pretty much is how we're doing right now. We're just so many, there's so many Earth's natural resources, and they just need to be rediscovered, right? They just need to be refined in order to shine. And what are the challenges that we're going to face once we go back? That's for sure. Kids are going to be excited to be back to school. And not only because it's a school, but most likely because they get to socialize again with their classmates. So of course they're going to be excited. They're going to see school in a different way. It's a place in which I can go and meet with my friends. And they're going to be too excited that I don't know if necessarily are going to pay attention to what we're saying, or to what we're teaching, or to what we prepare for them. Because again, they're going to be too excited to be with their classmates. Of course, they're going to be behind. So that of course, yeah. So what to do? Do I go back to where I stopped in last school year, or a month from now, or 2 months ago? Or do I continue thinking that they do know, or that they do learn what I taught them when we were away? Or what to do? So that's going to be another problem that we're going to need to face. Or probably some of them are going to be way behind, and some other ones are going to be just, in the right track. So we're going to have to level the knowledge of students again in order to continue. Absenteeism. If we come back in a few weeks or in a month from now, not everyone is going to go back, because some parents are going to say, I don't know if things are ready or things are under control. So I'd rather for my kid not to go, because they're going to be inside the classroom. There are too many kids. They're sneezing. They don't take care of themselves. So no, I'm going to keep him here in the house. He was away for such a long time. May as well keep him another month. So again, maybe you're going to have some students. Maybe you're not going to have all the students, or one of them is going to sneeze. Ooh, coronavirus. So let's keep him here in the class, or I'm sorry, at home. So of course we're going to be facing absenteeism, distracted. And we're going to be distracted. They're going to be distracted because they're going to be sleepy, because they were not going to be used or to being in front of the teacher from 7:30 in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's going to be too difficult for them to be in that path again, in that schedule again. And last but not least, of course, they're going to be hungry, especially with the adolescents. That when they were at home, or right now that they're at home, it's easy for them to go and grab a snack, or to go and eat something, or while they're having a class, to have something right next to them so they can be eating. And once we go back to school, that's another thing that we're going to have to deal with. They're going to be extremely hungry, and therefore they're not going to pay attention to you. So up until now has been situations, context, problems. So what to do then? How do we face this situation? How do we take things from now on? And my advice is we need to have hybrid models. That it's the way that we need to go from now on. Due to the impressive number of MOOCs out there, and MOOCs are massive open online courses, and with all the technological breakthroughs to come, like the 5G that it says, that is said to come and revolutionize communications, or artificial intelligence, or robotics. I don't know if you're with me, but have you feel like your phone listens to you? Maybe you're thinking about buying a TV, and boom, all of a sudden on Facebook, on Instagram, you start having, you know, announcements of TVs, discounts, this new technological breakthrough on TVs. So have you feel like the phone listens to you, your phone listens to you? We're not gonna get into that, but that certainly it's a situation that we're dealing with right now. So hybrid models, I do think it's the way to go. But what is a hybrid model? It's many people knows it as blended learning. This is certainly not a concept, a new concept. This concept was introduced as far back as 1840. Back then, it was the first time that there was distance learning, but back then it was done through a letter that a teacher was sending the students. And then in 1988, it was the first generation of web-based instruction. And then from 2000 until today, the integration of blending models. And many schools, many universities are using this model right now, especially higher level universities. But what is it? It's a formal education program in which students learn part online, part away from home, and with a learning path. In a part online, obviously with some control over the time, the place, the path, or the pace. In the part away from home, any place that takes away from school or away from home. And with a learning path, a curriculum designed with core subjects connected to provide an integrated learning experience. However, this model is not a one-size-fits-all. There are different types, there are different channels in which this methodology can deliver the message. The most common ones, or the principal ones, or the main ones are, for example, a station rotation. And in this type of blending learning, you have students within the class, but you have different stations within the classroom, and the students rotate in those activities. So some of them can be working online, some of them can have a lecture with a teacher, and some other ones can be doing an activity, a manual activity. Lab rotation, it's pretty similar to the previous one, to the station rotation, but this happens in a lab, in a science lab, or in a computer lab. Individual rotation, this is a schedule that is specific for each student. And the students do not necessarily need to go to all the stations, just the ones that are necessary for their own path, their path that it was created to them. Flipped classroom is the most common one. Flipped classroom is when the kids learn through a video, through a lecture outside the school, at home for homework, and then when they're in school, they have guided practice activities or projects with the teacher. Flex schedule. In this activity, oops, I'm sorry. This activity, this model allows the students to move their schedule among the learning activities according to their needs. Online learning is the backbone for this type of model. A la carte, in this model enables the students to take online courses and also face-to-face courses in school. And then enrich, last but not least, enrich virtual In this model, most of the learning happens online, and it's only very few classes that need to be face-to-face just to give a follow-up with a teacher. Why blended learning? Because it has the potential to break the century-old factory model that we have up until now, and can unlock customized learning, competency-based learning, and it can be done anytime and anywhere. Customized learning because kids are different and they have different needs. So we need to learn how to personalize education. Competency-based learning are for kids that have specific needs on how to improve in a specific topic, and can be done at any time and anywhere. For example, because now more than ever, being a global world in which people and families are moving everywhere and very fast. It can be, you can continue with your school, and it doesn't have to be necessarily inside a classroom. How to promote a real change in your school, what to do. My first advice is we need to have EdTech, and we need to do STEAM and STEM activities, because these activities usually focus on real life problems, and this is the best way to teach students how to learn something. So we need to give them the basics of educations, or the basic topics on what is it that they need to learn in order to solve a STEAM or STEM activity. On personalized education, I found this information that I do wanted to share with you, and that I do think that it has a great impact on the students' performance. It increases the student engagement in 69%. It also improves the teacher's performance in 51%, and this is a recent study that it was done on a university. 39% greater retention, 28% improved test scores, because tests, obviously, standardized tests are still important in order to get to the next level of education. 22% higher grades, and 22% better attendance. So we do need to personalize educations. We do need to apply blended learning in our classes. And we're almost at the end. I would like to share with you the school that I work for is Brillamont. In Brillamont, we do started to introduce blended models about 4 years ago, not as a whole, but it has to be done. It's being done little by little. The first thing that we did was to introduce stations in classrooms all the way from preschool to 3rd grade. The kids work in stations. So all day long, the kids are working in different activities, and according to their schedule, they rotate through the different stations that they have in a day. So this is how it's been done up until now. All the kids from preschool all the way to 3rd grade. Starting from 4th grade on, we have different models, and we do it, but we don't have the infrastructure that we have with the chairs. They can move easily, so they can work in teams, or they can take some students outside the classrooms, and some of them can remain inside. And another way that we have worked with blended models is, it's a model that we call Brillamont on Demand. In this model, we do have some students now. We have like 15 students enrolled in this program. And what happens is, or the type of kids that we have on these models are high performance athletes, girls that are studying dance, and they take too much time in the afternoon for their dance classes, and so they have to have a flexible schedule in the morning. I don't know, we have one of the students that belongs to one of the football teams in the city. So he practices in the morning with the football team. So he takes most of his classes with online teaching. So it's been done like this for this is the third year that we have Brillamont on Demand. It's working really good. We have had more and more kids, but cannot be, from now on, cannot be only 15 kids. We're gonna have to switch from this type of models with the entire organization, with the entire students, because that's what it's needed. We need to go to blended models, some classes in schools to be taken in schools and some classes to be taken away from school. And just to finish this conversation, I would like to recommend a book to you that maybe many of you have read it, but I think it fits this time just perfectly. The name of the book is Who Moved My Cheese? But I will switch it to Who Moved My Classroom. And this book talks about that change is inevitable. We need to anticipate, we need to adapt, we need to embrace change, and we need to enjoy it. The more that we see change as an opportunity, the less stress and the less unhappiness we will have. This book reminds us that we're not alone and that there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's certainly this situation, it's been chaotic for many of us. But whether we see change or whether we know that change is good or necessary, it always creates new opportunities, whether we recognize them immediately or not. So this is the phrase that I would like to finish this talk and to leave you with. What could my life look like if these new circumstances led to something even better to the ones that I'm living? Maybe it's going to be much, much better. Well, and that's all. Thank you very much. Thank you, Caro. If there are any comments or things that you would like to share with me or with the rest of the audience, be more than happy. Or if you have any questions.
Well, Ale, thank you so much. I really appreciate everything. As you already know, you're a huge example about learning and teaching for many, many of us. I also appreciate the recommendation of the book. I think I haven't read it before, so this is really cool. But I think we have questions from some teachers, and Leticia, I think Leticia has a question.
Sure, let me just
my question is actually, like, I've been concerned with these students that are not in class at all, because I can see here that all of us work with schools that have infrastructure that allows students to be in contact with us. But what can we do about the many kids that are not in contact with school right now, and they're probably not coming back to school when this pandemic is over? It's more like a reflection. It's not very related to the topic, but it's something that concerns me a lot. Thanks.
I will say, or what we're doing here at school is that we need to let parents know. We need to share with them so that they know where we're standing. But of course, we're going to have this situation, and we're going to have to deal with it. Like I said, once we go back, we're going to have, now more than ever, we're going to have to personalize the education, because we're going to have this type of kids that didn't attend to our classes, and and we need to continue with the ones that they did. So, but we do need to be, we need to give our parents a good experience about the situation. We need to do our best. We need to let them know what's happening. We understand that they don't have control, and that now more than ever, parents sadly do not have control over their kids. They cannot force the kids to do something. That's really a shame, but that's a reality. So the only thing that my recommendation is, we need to let your parents know. And then once we go back, personalized education, it's going to be key.
Yeah, thank you very much. I also like that you said that the families, the parents have to feel safe. They have to trust us that the environment is going to be safe, that we are going to be taking care of them. So yeah, the communication and the feeling of safety may be the key. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you, Leticia. Yeah, so also we have this comment from Juan Acosta. Current situation is challenging and it has opened a door to learning many new things and has made us grow as teachers. I think as teachers, you are also learning many things.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing, that we need to be humble and we need to understand that we need to learn. Okay, we definitely do not know it all. We might know much about our subject that we teach, but we do not know everything about what's happening. And another recommendation that I have is we do need to get involved in webinars that are related to the field, related to education. But it's also important to get into webinars that are not necessarily education. Because it's really funny, because if you go into math, into engineering, into things that are not related to education, you find that there is a connection between things that are happening out there, and then you can come up with new solutions, because we all feel the same way. So learning, it's a key right now.
Yes, and I think it's not just about what is inside the classroom. It's what is inside the student and what is out of the world happening, like what is happening out of the world, right? So I think is that a really good point. And yeah, there are lots of teachers that they are really really glad to be in here. So do we have another questions? Okay, okay, just go ahead. Cesar, I can. Okay, thank you so much.
Hello, hello all. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, let me first thank Mr. Presenter for the Future After the Crisis presentation, which was awesome. I thank you very much for your input. You said at the very beginning of your presentation that education was in a crisis before the COVID-19. And now it was because kids aren't interested in learning. They are just keen on using technology, social media, and stuff. Don't you think that now it's getting worse because they have access to all social media, have access to technology? And do you think that they really use it in a positive way?
Not now, definitely not now. They don't use it as in a positive way. And that's one of the things that I was talking to my teachers. I said, we need to get involved with social media so we can teach them that we can also have those tools we can use them in a good way, because the way that it was done before, they arose only for the social part of our, of our human nature, not only for educational purposes. So if you differentiate social media and you say from now on, if you say we're going to use Instagram as a way of learning, guess what? They're going to step away from Instagram now. And if we say, okay, we're going to go through from Instagram to TikTok, they're going to go away from TikTok, because what they are interested in is things that are not related to education. So I don't know if you guys around the world and in some other parts that are not Mexico necessarily, but I do think it's a problem in Mexico. The apathy that students have towards learning, towards education, it's amazing. So we're not getting the attention from the students that is needed for them to improve their desire of learning. So it's not only, I question myself if it's only the teacher, the student's fault because they have too many instructors, or is it also that we're not doing what we're supposed to do in order to get their attention?
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, well, we have this last comment from Paul Ortiz. I don't know. Who raised the hand?
Me too.
Okay.
Wait, can I ask another question, please?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so let me go back to you concerning the pandemic benefits. You raised the issue of new class image and the traditional class image. To what extent do you think that the new class image is in favor of poor students, given that that they most of them, if not well, the majority of them can't afford paying for the internet?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about, and that's what I'm suffering from right now, because I created many groups, and up to today, I mean, I couldn't invite as many as 50% of each class, not because they don't want to access or to be part of the online learning, but most of them, they can afford paying for the internet.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. And that is a problem that we do have in Mexico as well. Not for private schools, that's not the case, but for the federal schools, that we do have that problem. And what we're doing in Mexico, what the government is doing is they're teaching through TV. Again, I'm not questioning myself about if we're doing the necessary that is needed in order to teach. But the thing is, are the kids learning? So this, we're not going to know. In your case, you say 50% they don't have access to internet. You're going to have to work in teams once we go back in order to help students with each other and say, I don't know, just like mix and blend and say, these students came to the class or to attend to the lectures on a regular basis. So I'm going to use them as a mean to help me with the ones that were not able to get, to have access to those classes. So once we go back, we're going to have to do magic because, yeah, that will be a problem. And for us in Mexico as well, like I said, I do work in a private school. Kids do have access to everything that is needed for them to continue with their learning, but that's not the same reality for everyone. You know, kids are learning through TV. Who knows what they're doing at home, and who knows if the parents are giving them a follow-up on the activities that they need to do.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your feedback.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have another question from the participants? Okay.
Hello, I would say if we could have the presentation, the PowerPoint presentation into our email, that would be great.
Okay, we are also going to upload the videos. We're gonna try that for everyone. Maybe in a few weeks, we will try it just for everyone. It's gonna be available in our social media, okay?
Thank you very much. Thank
Absolutely,
you.
and I'll share my email with you. I should have put it on the presentation. I'll share my email with you if I notice that somebody had questions about blended learning. I can give them a huge sites information of where they can find that information, and if they need a little bit of my feedback on the experience that we have had as a school using this model, introducing this model 3 or 4 years ago, more than welcome.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to, Ale, you can write your email here. I don't know if you will be available.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah, in the chat. Yeah, it will be amazing for everyone, I think. So, a question from Maria Dolores. Blended learning has to see with it gaming, challenging, and inverted learning to develop competences and make learning meaningful and fun. I think yes, right?
I'm sorry. I was just typing.
I
was typing the email there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we got this question from Maria Dolores. Blended learning has to see with claiming, challenging, and inverted learning, right?
Exactly.
To develop competencies and make learning meaningful and fun. Yeah, so yeah, many people is asking for a presentation. That's amazing. Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. Thank you. Maria Dolores, do you have a question?
No, thank you very much for the answer.
Thank you. So yeah, well, we got lots of message here. Okay. Yeah, I think, well, do we have another question? Last one? Okay,
Thanks for the
so
presentation.
yeah, Roberto?
I have a quick question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Research shows, well, thank you for the talk that you just gave. It was lovely, really an excellent talk and well prepared and well thought. My question is, research shows that relationships with caring adults can be a critical factor in a student's success in school, especially in cases where students experience instability at home. How can we as teachers help with that during this crisis?
Absolutely. Caring, like in one of the slides, I mentioned that all this huge change that we did, even though we didn't know how, it's because we care. It's because there is this bond between teachers and students that we say what's going to happen to them. It's not only about uploading a presentation and say here's what you need to learn or what you need to continue with, and that's it, goodbye. No, it's like I said, a good way to know, or to let the students know that we're there, because it's an extremely important topic that you mentioned, and thank you that you brought it up so clearly. That caring, that I'm here for you, it's the best way for me to do it is through social media, especially for the older ones, because that's what they do and that's what they like to do. For the little ones, of course, they can be sending them, I don't know, maybe a special note, a drawing. Actually, that's what my kids, my teachers are doing. It's funny. One of my teachers is sending cupcakes to their kids, to their homes, whenever it's their birthday. So if they had a birthday during these days, she went and delivered. Obviously, she just left it outside the door and gave it to the, it's extremely important to let our students know that we're there and that we care. It's not only about knowledge. We are going through this in the same way, and we're having as much difficulties as they're having. And it's, you know, it's as chaotic for us as it is for them, and that we're gonna go with them through this difficult time. And it's showing them that we care. It's key.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Roberto.
Okay. Okay, yeah, just go ahead. Me, I think we got the question.
Hello again. I'm pretty sure, convinced these days that COVID-19 is teaching us a lot of lessons since last November. I mean, don't you think that because of what's going on now worldwide, that most of governments all over the world should think seriously of putting too much money or enough money on using technology to help our kids either learning in class or online? I mean, either they can adopt face-to-face learning or distance learning.
Absolutely. I'll share with you. It's obviously that is something that is not even a question. That we should have more money from government so we can get better tools as far as technology goes in schools. But let me share with you something very quickly. Years ago, we had a candidate to the presidency, and he said, and one of his campaign promises was that he was going to have a computer for every kid in every school. Everybody laughed, and that was like I don't know, it was 16 years ago. Everybody laughed because they said, no, that cannot happen. It's not even necessary. That person was killed during that time. He never came to be president. But guess what? 16, 20 years from now, we still don't have it. And everybody laughed because they said that it was crazy and that it was not needed. 20 years after that situation, we're still having problems, and it's embarrassing that we're teaching our kids through TV channels because we do not have access to a computer, because kids do not have access to computer. So yes, that is a key. We need to have more money from the government to give kids what they need to learn, and a computer, it's a key. It's not even a question. It's just like having clothes in order to go to school. If you're wearing clothes, you also need to have a computer with you. It is a must.
Thank you.
Okay, so, well, I think, do we have another question from the participants? Okay.
Hi, I don't know if.
Hello, Paula. Yeah,
How are you?
go ahead, go ahead.
Just wondering what we could do with preschool kids, because it's a concern that soon some parents will go back to work and preschool kids will stay at home with a nanny or with the grandparents who usually don't know how to use technology. And how is this learning process going to continue with them? Blended learning for preschool kids, a 3-year-old. I know that they learn at home just by helping with house chores, or maybe playing lots of games. But many parents are saying that it's not worth paying.
Right, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So they should just take them out of school, or I would like you to comment on that, please.
Yeah, that is a situation that many of us have. For me, or for us in Brillamont, hasn't been that difficult, like I said, because we're a Google reference school. We got this award about, again, 4 years ago. So we had to have all their teachers certified as Google reference teachers. And the change or this transition has been not that difficult because we had that since 4 years ago. So it was easy for most of them to make this change. For preschool, what I can tell you is that we're using something that it's called Aldea. It's a platform in which the teachers upload the activities and they're videotaping the classes and they're uploading to the platform. And then the only thing that they need to do is our kids, each one of them have an iPad. So through the iPad, or they can connect the iPad on the TV, they can see the teacher doing the activity and they follow the activities. We gave all the materials that they had at the school to take home with the kids so they can do the activities. The activities or obviously, again, had to be changed. We cannot do the same activities that we did in class because parents do not know how to use the technology, or the nannies do not know how to use technology. So they had to make an adjustment on the activities. But in order to continue learning, I don't know, say letters, reading, alphabets, coordination, they continue with the teaching and they do it through the iPads. If you like, again, the software or the platform that we're using, it's called Aldea, and it has worked very good so far. We haven't had any situations. Parents are happy. Our parents in preschool have not complained as much, but yes, that's for sure. I mean, I do know that many people are saying that it's not fair to pay the complete tuition if kids are not receiving the complete information, even though we know that they are, because they don't know the situation that we're going through. But that's their feeling, and it's understandable. I mean, we do have to be understandable with parents.
Okay. Thank you, Paola, for the question. And do we have another one?
I just have a comment about, you hear me? Yeah.
Okay, Mabel, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's related to the comment that Paola did, but it's quite interesting to me that it was said that this situation helps students to develop some parts of the brain that were sleeping. And that's why that's really, really important, because parents, most of the time, they complain about what the teacher is giving or not. Yeah, and they ask if it's worth or not paying
Tuition.
they are paying what they are paying. But the
Right.
point is that this situation is a good chance for the students to develop competencies, abilities, and we can notice that they are not ready.
Absolutely.
They are not responsible of self-learning. That's quite
Exactly.
important. This situation gave us the chance. It's not only about teachers, but for students to be aware that they have to be responsible of self-learning. So that's
Right.
interesting. Mhm.
Right. Yeah, self-regulation, self-learning, that's key. And that's, I do agree with you. And that's what I said. We were on a crisis, you know, before, a different one, but we were on an education crisis before all this started. Yeah, I do agree with you completely.
Thank you so much, Mabel. That was a really nice comment. So, do we have another comment or question? Okay, who raised the hand? Yvonne, yeah, go ahead. Thank you, Yvonne. Yvonne, I think.
In introducing
Hello,
the...
Yvonne. We didn't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Can
now.
you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was wondering about the process, okay? The process for teachers. How was the experience you had with teachers so far using this blending learning strategy?
Well, like I said, we started with the blending process 4 years ago for the activity centers or for the learning centers, and then 2-3 years ago for the Brillamont on Demand model. Obviously chaotic, you know, because the problem is that it's even worse, is that we're doing traditional classes with blended learning at the same time and with the same teachers. So this group of students are with blending models, and this group of students are with traditional models. So obviously it has been chaotic about what to do, what to give them, what not to give them, and what to, they have to learn this on their own. And then, but obviously the kids are also not used to, because this is not only about the teachers, this is about the mindset that teachers have, that, like the other comment the other person said, is they're not in the mindset of I have to learn this by myself because I'm in this type of model. We're starting with this transition. I think the most important thing is to change the mindset, you know, to convince the students that we're not going to give them everything, that we're just going to give them the tools or the means for them to learn something, and then they have to go out there and look out for themselves and research for themselves, and then we just come and guide them through the practices or through the projects that they will have to do with that knowledge. That's the most difficult thing. It's not about if I can handle the it's just how to convince the students that are not ready yet to be self-regulated, to be self-learn students or people, and with, because they will say, you're giving them the information to the traditional classroom. Yes, because traditional classrooms are traditional, you know, and this model has to be done this way. So it's a very specific group of people that we have right now, that because of their schedule or because of their needs, or for example, we have one student that is very talented. He's a 10-year-old kid taking a chemistry class because he was very good in class, in chemistry class of 9th grade, of people that he was taking classes with 15-year-olds. So like I said, there are very specific needs that these group of people have right now, that we decided, the director that I have, he's a very visionary person, and he always likes to, you know, learn new things and have the school in you know, in the top of just technology. The thing is that when they told us and when they asked us that we were going to become a Google reference school and that all the teachers had to be certified, obviously we went nuts and we went ballistic because they said, well, I don't know how to do this and I'm not going to spend that much time in taking tests and studying. But we did it. We finally did it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you so much. I think, yeah, that we don't have more questions. It's been such a pleasure, Ale. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And I hope for everyone will be helpful, all the information and the comments and the questions as well. It's such a pleasure for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Caro. It was a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
No, thank you so much. Such a pleasure. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye. Have a nice
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paola. Thank you, Roberto.
Thank you very much. It was very nice.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ale. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Have a nice day.
Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.